This video will discuss Kronos reports. If you're a timekeeper or approver, from your main dashboard, scroll down and you'll see your My Saved Reports area. To run a report, click the play symbol that's next to the report name, and that'll allow you to see the report. If you don't get any specific information, you can change the report parameters. So in this case, it says counter date this month. So I'm in the month of February. So to change that, I can click on that counter date area, as I just did. I'll repeat that. And then under type, I can actually change that to a specific date range, pay period such as biweekly current or previous, or I can actually type in an expression. So using calendar range, I can say, let's look at everything from last month. All the employees will be all the employees that I have access to, which is generally whoever you're a timekeeper or approver for. So in this case, for these test employees, it shows their extra service hours that come in. Now, if I want to see that information in an Excel or a PDF file, I click the three dots, the ellipsis, and I select Export. And then I can select the type of format I would like to see. If you send it to Excel, it's recommended to show hours as decimal. It's easier to work with if you're going to add them up, or you can use it as a PDF file, something that you could save. You also have the ability to filter. You can do that in a variety of ways. You notice under employee ID or first name, all these different areas, there is a drop-down arrow. So here you can actually use this to filter information. And I'll show you a couple common ones. In is one where you can select multiple numbers separated by a comma, and then it will select just those particular ones. Now, if you want to select just one record and you know the exact information, you can select that, enter that, I should say, and then click enter. And now it will filter it to show just that particular employee or that particular record based on your filter. Now, if you use equal, you have to be exact. So it has to be completely accurate. For example, return back to the report. In here, under first name, if I select equal, and then I put JUD, the first part of the name, then it's not going to pick anything up. But if I use starts with, it will pick up the record for Judith. So for between, it has to be numerical. So if you wanted to say, for instance, between employee, you separate it by a comma, and then it will show all the records that are in between. So in this case, I'm opening it kind of wide up to show theoretically every employee that I'm timekeeper or approver for. Of course, if you don't want to filter it at all, just eliminate it. Now, for some of these reports, there is information preloaded. For example, under counter hours, for this report, it excluding anything with 0 because it doesn't want to bring in records that have no value. And also under counter name, there are a number of values separated by commas. So what this means is it's going to pull in all these types of overtime or extra service. So bus driver span overtime, and extra service. That way, for whomever is running the report, they'll get accurate information as to overtime. Again, under job class or responsibility, you can filter it if you choose. Is under filters, there's also a column area that you can select. And in there too, you can select filters. Finally, if you have a report that you've modified and you like the way that new report looks, you can save it and it will be available to you for use later on. It'll be available only to you. So it's kind of a handy way of creating your own custom reports. And you do that by clicking the ellipsis, save view as, renaming it. And then you can click save. Now, if you go out there, you'll see it in your listing of reports now. Now, if you decide later on that you really didn't need that report anymore, or it's kind of something that you'd rather not see, you'll see that report now listed here, my overtime extra service report, the report owner, it has your name there. You can simply click the garbage can to delete that report. And now when you go to your saved reports area, you'll see that it's gone. Some other reports I'd like to point out. Detailed calculated time entry. That can be handy for basically getting a wide swath of time as opposed to just pay period by pay period. It can take a little bit of time to run. So let's take a look at an example here. Pay period, previous, click apply. And what it's going to show is kind of almost a timesheet type of look to it. It's going to show all that detailed information. Swipes in, swipes out. It's even on to show how Kronos calculated the time as far as lunch breaks and things like that. So that can be a handy report to use if you want to, for example, select a period of time for like a quarter. Let's say you want to say, I want to see everything for quarter 1 of 2021. Well, you could do that, click apply, and it would show that information. Again, if you make any changes, it'll ask you if you want to save. You don't have to, but if you want to save that custom report, you can. A very important report is the missed days report. This one's almost one that you would need to run before approving timesheets. And here you can select your date range. It's going to generally default to the previous pay period because it's expecting you to look at this, say, on the Monday after the pay period is ended, and it's a way of making sure everything looks good. But you can change this to, for example, current pay period, and that would allow you to see who's absent then. And then you could fix the errors even before the end of the pay period. So that's a very important report. Sometimes these reports can take a few seconds or even up to a minute to run or to go back to the previous area of Kronos. Under specified sick and unpaid leave usage, This is a nice report to show certain types of sick leave or unpaid leave, as it shows unexcused, unpaid, LWOP, like leave without pay, absent without leave, family illness, and personal illness. So if you click on that report, the default that comes up for it is a rolling 1 year. So it's looking at it for a rolling 1 year basis. You can change that simply by clicking the expression there, changing it to a date range, and then selecting your date range that you'd like. You can also filter it by employee if you just want to get the information for a specific employee by typing in their employee number. And then of course you can export it to Excel, and there you can sum up, for example, the amount of days that have been missed, total number of hours. The other reports on sick leave usage, this one is more expansive, so it has all the different types of sick leave, such as death in family and things like that. Time off absences includes everything that is time off, such as vacation or personal time. The clock usage report, this will show you, for the employees that you're a timekeeper approver for, it will show you their punch in and punch out, and including the terminal or device that they punched in or out at. In this example, these are all test employees, so they didn't actually punch in or out. Their entries have been manually keyed in. But if these were real employees that were punching in and out, you would see information here under terminal ID and device ID. It will not show you employees that you are not timekeeper approver for who swiped in at your building, however. It will only show you your employees and show you what buildings that they swiped in or out at. Comp time balance is a nice report, although it can take up to a minute to run, so I won't stay there on that one. Accrual balances is the same thing. It can take up to a minute to run. And it excludes the comp time balance because it presents it in a little different format. So to see the accruals for your employees, you could combine these two reports, maybe export them both to Excel or the like. And probably the most important report there is, if you're an approver, is the approval report. It defaults to the previous pay period because it's assuming you're looking at this like on the Monday following the end of a pay period. But you can change it, and that will allow you to select, for example, like the current pay period, if you would like to look at it from that perspective. So that's a brief tutorial on Kronos reports.